Let's have a look at workflow, which is a powerful feature of Salesforce and WaterGrass, which is built on Salesforce. What we're going to do is build a formal system that recognizes every donation that comes in that's over $200 and reclassifies it as a major donation, and then reminds the executive director to call the donor and thank them personally. So the way we'll do that is with workflows. And so if we go over to Setup, and then we scroll down, we'll find Create, Workflow and Approval, and here it is. First we're going to set up a workflow rule, and then and that rule is going to say if a donation is over $200. And then we'll set up the actions that it takes, which will be one email alert to the ED to remind them to make a phone call, and one field update changing the donation to a major donation. So let's look at how that works. We go to the workflow rule. I'm going to create a new rule. We're looking at the contribution object, which Salesforce calls opportunity. We're going to call this contribution greater than or equal to 200. We want it to occur if a record is created with an amount over 200, or if you edit an existing record and it goes over 200. And the criteria are that the opportunity amount, or the contribution amount, is greater than or equal to 200. And that creates the condition then, the trigger, if you will, or the workflow rule. So now we have to add workflow actions. Let's add an immediate action. The first action we'd like is that we'd like it to recognize this as a major donation, not just a donation. So we're going to call this change donation to major donation. That's pretty straightforward. And we want it to update the opportunity record type. There we go. Scroll down. And the field we want is then, we want it to set opportunity record type to major donation. So now we'd like to set a time-based workflow action. 1 day after this trigger fires, so let's put 1 day after the rule trigger date. We would like it to, here we add our workflow action, send out an email alert, call major donor and thank them, choose an email template, say for instance, I would set up a special template for this, but in this case I'll just use time to call major donor. And the person that I want called would be the executive director. We'll use me in this case. And we save it. Okay. So now we've got our two actions. Let's give it a try. Let's go over to a contribution. Here's one. And for time's sake, I'm just going to clone it. And I'll say clone that. I'll change the name to autofill as always. You can see the amount's $251. Right now, this is a donation. But when the original was classified as a donation. But when we save this, it should actually change it to a major donation. It doesn't. And why doesn't it do that? Because we've forgotten one of the key steps, the final step in establishing a workflow rule, which is to activate it. So that if we look down here, here's our rule, and we're going to activate that. So now if we go back to the contribution and say we clone it again, right now you can see it's a donation. We call it autofill again, and we save it. And it's become a major donation. So that's an example of using workflow rules for something very simple.